Welcome to the Aria. It's fascinating that over 90% of our viewers connect deeply with our videos, yet choose not to subscribe. Speech Balloon. If you've just joined us, welcome to a place where every story is a journey through hidden truths, unspoken emotions, and endings that leave you breathless. Backhand index pointing right. Still watching but haven't subscribed yet? Now's your moment. Hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next will pull you in deeper than you ever expected. Bell, and don't forget to tap the bell, so you'll never miss the next chapter that just might change everything. Right arrow, one click, one emotional journey. Come with us. In a heartbeat, you can help us create even more remarkable content just for you. The air crackled with tension, wrapping around me like a second skin. The pounding of my heart resonated in my ears, a relentless reminder of the choice that awaited me. Let us embark on our journey. It began on a warm evening in Paris, right after the final round of trade negotiations ended. The city was shrouded in a calm quiet, but inside, chaos consumed me. His hand slipped beneath my shirt just as I collided with the dryer behind me. The hum surged through my spine, electrifying every nerve. The fragrance of fabric softener lingered in the air, evoking a rush of memories and emotions, heavy with tension, as if truth could be polished to perfection. He remained silent. He edged nearer, the breath of a mouth on my collarbone. Warmth glides over the skin, igniting a spark within. It had been years since anyone had touched me like this. The dim bulb flickered, casting a haunting yellow glow. I clutched the edge of the folding table with one hand, desperate for something to hold on to as I fought to recall the person I once was. His weight bore down on my hips. It begins with a hesitant pace, then profound. I inhaled sharply. Every inch ignited a fire within me. I didn't give it a name until it was unfolding before me. My knee collided with the open detergent bottle. It swayed fiercely yet stood its ground. I was frozen, unable to make it right. Breath escaped me, each moment heavy with weight. His hand rested on my lower back, igniting a rush of emotions. Leading the way, the dryer shook once more, and I swallowed a sound that felt like a whisper of anguish. No, not at all. It pierced deep. Yet I let him go. I leaned back, feeling the weight of the moment settle around me, push me further. Years passed in solitude, untouched and yearning. And then I allowed this to unfold. I am 39 years old, bound together, exhausted in a way that feels heavy, yet you struggle to voice it without seeming unappreciative. You recognize the kind, an exhaustion that seeps deep into your very bones. Not from work, not from raising children, yet never being seen the same way again. He's 31. It wasn't a stranger. That would have been easier to understand. He was my husband's colleague, arrived to mend the drywall after the leak's damage, returned to lend a hand with the shelves in the laundry. It returned once more. Just wanted to reach out and say hello. I was fully aware of the choice I made when I slipped into that fitted shirt, the one that holds on tight as I stretch higher. I convinced myself it was sweltering that day. It simply wasn't. I once believed loneliness whispered softly, yet it isn't. It pulses with life. It thunders in your ears when someone finally rests their hand on your lower back and keeps it there. What would you do if the comfort you sought came from the one person you were never supposed to care for? It revealed itself slowly, layer by layer. The pace dragged on, heavy and slow, a quiet crescendo of stolen glances. As he handed me the screwdriver, his fingers brushed against mine, igniting a spark that lingered in the air. His gaze crackled with intensity, burdened by a depth that shattered the limits of friendship and loyalty. Like a secret gem he longed to keep buried. The first meeting took me completely by surprise. We were so close, yet our lips never met. Silence enveloped us, heavy and unbroken. We hovered close, caught in a moment that felt electric. I turned sharply, crashing into him. I stood my ground, unwavering. In that brief moment before everything changes, the chance to act hangs heavy in the atmosphere. I didn't. I yielded to his touch, let him slide his hand down the back of my jeans, as if we both knew this moment all too well. The air thickened with unspoken tension between us. The room is shrouded in silence. Lines blur and disappear. In the shadowy laundry room, under the unsteady light of a flickering bulb and the constant hum of a judgment-free machine, I felt myself giving in to the temptation I had promised to fight against. I let go. If you've ever found comfort in an unforeseen place, not by choice but from wandering aimlessly, this story may strike a chord with you. Stand with us and press that subscribe button. Staying engaged lets these stories resonate with those who quietly yearn for them. Let us begin. The next morning, I folded towels with precision, masking the turmoil that lingered beneath the surface. At that familiar folding table, the one he had shoved me against just hours before, I traced my fingers along its edges, desperate to erase the lingering pain in my body. My husband lounged in the living room, laughter spilling from him as he watched a YouTube video, his carefree joy striking a dissonant chord within me. I shouldn't have felt guilty. What happened wasn't wrong, yet it didn't feel like betrayal. It was as if breaking through years of silence, a response to the weight of being overlooked, a mere fixture in the background. He had hardly laid a finger on me in months, as if I were nothing more than a ghost. Neither in fury nor in bitterness, but in a gradual fading away. That's the reality of marriage as it begins to fade away. It remains silent. Silence envelopes everything. A silence so profound, it erases the memory of your own words. 2 years ago, at a company cookout, I crossed paths with Owen. He was younger, yet carried a maturity that was striking. Confidence radiated from him, a hint of cockiness masking a keen awareness beneath the surface. He was the last to leave, always stepping in to help, carrying boxes and fixing things while others faded away. No one requested his help to mend it. He didn't flirt, not in the obvious way, but his gaze held me, making me feel seen. That alone was a perilous thrill. He began showing up more often after my husband injured his rotator cuff, offering to assist with the heavy lifting. I offered him iced tea on sweltering days, and his grateful smile hung in the air, a moment that never quite faded. He averted his gaze. He studied me intently, and I surrendered to the moment. One day stands out vividly in my mind. In the garage, I fought to lift a box of old Christmas decorations, unaware of the storm that was about to unfold. He barged in, snatched it from my hands, no questions asked. Our fingers grazed, igniting a spark between us. Nothing extraordinary. Still, my heart felt tight for the next hour. And so it began, not fueled by longing, but with sharp intensity. You may not realize the intensity of your desire until a simple touch ignites a fire within, leaving your heart racing and your eyes glistening with unshed tears. I told myself it was just my imagination, those heavy silences that hung between the words. He lingered, waiting for our solitude, his quips teetering on the brink of humor, yet resonating with a depth that transcended simple jokes. One fateful afternoon changed everything forever. The washer suddenly stopped mid-cycle, leaving me no choice but to call him, as my husband was away at a conference. He showed up 30 minutes later. Silence reigns. A sly smile flickered, accompanied by a nonchalant shrug. Could be something insignificant, a bond that slips away in an instant. Instead, he paused, caught in a moment of hesitation before approaching the machine. He lingered in the doorway. His eyes locked onto mine while I mindlessly rubbed my hands on the dish towel. The silence weighed down, thick and suffocating, more confined than usual. It hangs in the balance, ready to shatter at any moment. I should have handed him the manual and walked away. I proposed we share a cup of coffee instead. He perched on the stool by the counter, and our conversation unfolded. About emptiness. The storm brews, dark clouds swirling ominously. As the air thickens with tension, a chill runs down the spine, anticipation crackling like electricity. Nature's fury is about to unleash its wrath. His dreadful landlord. My garden forever stunted and unfulfilled. Yet it wasn't about the words. We desperately wished for that moment to last forever. He reached over, a moment suspended in time, perhaps to grab the sugar I had prepared, perhaps to reach out and connect. I remain uncertain. His fingers brushed against mine. I stood my ground. His gaze lingered on me, heavy and unyielding. I held my gaze steady. I had always thought I was the kind who would never succumb. In an instant, doubt crept in. What happens when someone perceives you not as a mother, not as a wife, but as a woman who still desires, still yearns, still lives? You either flee or you draw near. I stood still. We never reached for each other again that day. Yet a change occurred. The silence became overwhelming. The air was thick with unspoken words. He started to fix what had never needed repair. I started to crack open the side door. A deep loneliness echoes through the confines of my home, a quiet yet captivating presence, one that beckons you to lose yourself in gentle textures and enchanting scents. When a new presence fills that emptiness, it takes little for the whole foundation to start shaking. Owen was never what I longed for. First, it was different. A longing surged within me. When it finally hit me, I couldn't ignore its weight. On that Tuesday, his footsteps resonated in my mind, each echo a haunting reminder of the secrets binding us together. While I was upstairs folding laundry yet again, the sudden creak of the side door sliced through the silence, pulling me from my task. My husband took the truck to the dealership. Owen promised he would come to check the garage door, which had been misbehaving, sticking as if it held on to its own hidden truths. I wanted it to remain broken. Still, I let him into my world anyway. I stood in the hallway, clutching a damp bath towel, my only armor against the world. I heard him close the door softly, a silent acknowledgement of his place as an outsider in this space. My breath caught a sharp pang in my throat. I held my tongue. I waited, heart racing. Each footstep reverberated in my mind as he crossed the frigid tile floor. It was devoid of fascination. It was beyond anything I could have imagined. My body sensed the truth long before my mind caught up. I descended the stairs, each step deliberate and hushed, as if entering a realm from which there was no escape. He hunched over the garage door panel, sleeves rolled up, forearms smeared with dirt. He glanced at me briefly, his silence heavy with unspoken words. I offered him a towel. Our fingers grazed once more. I find myself haunted by that moment far too often. Silence enveloped us for almost 5 minutes after that. He twisted the screws, his hands trembling with urgency. I leaned against the wall, a woman caught off guard, torn between the urge to flee and the weight of my decision to stay. I think it's just the track, he said, finally straightening up. It could be warped from the heat. He wiped his forehead, a streak of grease marking his brow. I hovered, hand poised, but ultimately I held back. I stood still, paralyzed. And so he did. The air crackled with a tension that made each breath feel like a weighty promise. A sudden movement from above. A soft thud resonated from the bedroom. My husband was back. We broke apart, raw and exposed like kids caught in a moment of truth. Rebellion ignites, only to be extinguished by a wave of shame. Owen swallowed hard, a quiet hint of the intricate secrets ready to unravel. I will come back soon. Embraced the moment. He just turned away, shutting down any chance of a reply. In that instant, danger loomed large. Not because of something that happened, but because nothing happened at all. In the heavy silence that enveloped us, we held on tightly, unwilling to release our grip. In the aftermath, their eyes met, heavy with unvoiced emotions. The messages came in as the day wore on. If you need anything else, don't hesitate to reach out. If the gate keeps acting up, I'll swing by. Delicate shades, a flaw always lingers, waiting to be healed. I let it unfold. He started to stay longer than before. At the kitchen counter, I immersed myself in dinner preparations, the silence wrapping around me as if I were the only soul in this space. Our hands brushed against each other as we reached for the plate, and the air crackled with unspoken tension. Our hands touched. He held his ground. I didn't either. "Are you all right?" he inquired one fateful night. His voice was a whisper, laced with unspoken emotions. I nodded, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. "Are you really convinced that was the first time I deceived him?" In that moment I understood. I craved his questions to never end. I began to realize the profound silence that enveloped my life, not a tranquil hush. My husband slouched in his recliner, a beer in hand, the TV blaring loudly, drowning out everything else. It had been more than a week since he last cared to ask about my day. Perhaps it should be extended. Owen saw it all. I made the bold choice to cut off my hair. I adorned myself with earrings again. As I stirred the pot, a haunting melody slipped from my lips. "You've changed," he said one evening, his voice heavy with unspoken feelings. A whisper of intrigue laced his voice. Radiant. I was caught in a whirlwind of gratitude and regret. In the shadowy confines of the garage, the truth emerged, raw and undeniable. He was fiddling with a shelf that needed no fixing at all. I gripped the flashlight with white knuckles. As he reached for a screw, our arms brushed, igniting a surge of unspoken tension. Everything has changed. This was deliberate. His hand brushed, lingering just enough to ignite a spark. My fingers trembled with the rush of expectation. And then he ended the pretense. "I really shouldn't say this," he murmured, his eyes darting away from mine. "You haunt my mind." I froze, trapped in a surge of disbelief. "I don't want to cause any problems," he said quickly. Still, I felt an undeniable urge to speak out. I should have pushed him to stop. I should have escaped this garage. Instead, I whispered, "You're on my mind as well." His gaze met mine in that moment, truly gazed. Silence reigns, devoid of allure, only tension, and something more perilous, hope. Time stretched into an eternity. Time stretched endlessly as he drew nearer. I stepped back just one step and then I froze in place. On that day, our lips remained apart. Our hands stayed separated. But the air around us changed dramatically. The joy had slipped away. This was far more than just a game. It weighed heavily on me. Fire. A quiet tension lingered, ready to explode at any second. That night, sleep slipped through my fingers. I lay there, eyes fixed on the ceiling, my thoughts wandering as I counted the steady, rhythmic breaths of the man beside me. The man stood oblivious, while I had already crossed the point of no return. The kiss wasn't what haunted me. It was everything that had led to this moment. The stolen looks, the close calls, the quiet that echoes deep truths. Betrayal reveals itself in silence, not just in a kiss. Yearn for the elusive treasures just out of reach. The rain poured relentlessly that night, shrouding the events in a heavy, haunting atmosphere. The drizzle fell softly, a whispering veil that cloaked the world in a hazy embrace, charged with an exhilarating hint of peril. He fired off a message around 8:15. "I still need assistance with the shelf." I gazed at the screen, fingers hovering, typing and erasing, caught in a cycle of uncertainty. Doors swing wide, kitchen lights blaze to life. My husband slipped into bed early, leaving the silence heavy in the air. He insisted he had a headache. He sought refuge in Advil, slipping away upstairs before the second commercial break of a war documentary that had utterly lost him. I sat in the kitchen, tense on the edge of my chair, struggling to hide my eagerness. His presence enveloped me, a silent warning before the door creaked open. The air shifted, a sudden warmth pressing against me from behind. As I turned, he stood in the doorway, shirt soaked, clinging to his chest hair, damp curls framing his silhouette. "Hello," he said, his voice carrying a weight that lingered in the air. Words slipped through my fingers. The kitchen was silent, save for the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the steady tick of the clock above the window.